I'm going to do a video on an article which is by Gareth Evans, published in 1973, which is called The Causal Theory of Names. It's in this book, which is the Philosophy of Language anthology. And, it kind of is along with a lot of other thought about names, about with Searle and with Frege, and he's kind of, in many ways, he's sort of pointing out basically is kind of drawing the line between description theory of names and causal theory of names, and as to how those if they allow context to be part of the theories or not. He refers to Saul Kripke opposing the description theory of names. And Kripke, proposes in response the causal theory of names, and both are the description theory and the causal theory are both answers to questions about proper names. And what exactly is a proper name? A proper name is something that definitely picks out something. It refers to something definitely. It picks something out, as opposed to a connotation, a denotation picks something out immediately. And there's an immediate link between the name and what is picked out by that name. So we have questions in this issue about what the name denotes upon a particular occasion of its use, and which is partly determinative of what the speaker said and what the speaker denotes. So there's this kind of break between what the name denotes and what the speaker himself denotes. And there's a question about what the name itself also denotes. So we have that little break as to what we're really talking about. Are we really talking about the speaker, or are we really talking about the name itself as to where is the denotation coming from? There's two kinds of description theories. A description theory of speakers as to what the speaker denotes, where NN denotes X upon the occurrence of the speaker's use of NN, NN being a certain name, where NN denotes a certain referent, X, upon the occurrence of the speaker's use of it. And that could open up for some account of context, but not quite, where the cluster of information that associates with the name used, there's without no individuating info of NN and how NN picks out X, the speaker is denoting nothing. Secondly, the second kind of description theory is a description theory of what a name denotes. Kripke's paper says that the description theory of what a name denotes is not adequate or not correct, and that naming has a social character. And I would definitely agree with that. And I'm myself on the side of whether meaning is a realistic thing which cannot be changed by context or the utterance itself. I'm personally think that the performative utterance is what deems meaning. I think that there is meaning aside from the utterance, but it's not primary to a certain name's meaning, a certain name's denotation. The object, and that kind of almost refers to, in the way that how naming has a social character, to the idea of psychological attitude and let's say propositional attitude. A propositional attitude in the philosophy of language, a propositional attitude is having to do with what is thought about something, possibly what is believed or wanted, having to do with a psychological aspect, and this kind of we have an overlap between philosophy of language and the philosophy of the mind, and how mind and language can in a way overlap, in that how a speaker denotes, and Evans does not use the word propositional attitudes, but he does talk about how Kripke says that naming has a social character, and how a certain object denoted has certain psychological attitudes, and as to how a speaker denotes the utterance, that has to do with the propositional attitude, which is superimposed upon a certain name, and has to how a name picks out something. And we'll get, as I get to the latter part of this, we'll kind of see more clearly how the two, how the description theory and the causal theory kind of break apart. The causal theory of things, which is what Kripke espouses, is where a speaker, we have a speaker, the speaker using the name NN, which on a particular occasion denotes item X, and thus there's a causal chain of relevance preserving links leading back to his use of X on that occasion. So when he specifically says the word NN, and as to how he has his use of the name NN, refers back to X. There's a causal chain of links, which is it's a causal chain of reference which preserves links leading back to his use of X on that occasion, which kind of preserves as to how NN and X are related. So his use of both those things causally has a causal connection, which is a reference preserving. I'm sorry if I'm kind of going too fast here, so if I'm going too fast and you think if you want a little more explanation than what I'm giving you here, let me know. Where the item X being involved in a name acquires a transaction where there's a reference preserving link as using the name NN in the same way as S constitutes the reference preserving link if and only if S intends to use NN in the same way, the same denotation as he did from when he used the name in the first place. And at any future time, no matter how remote or forgotten the conversation, no matter how alien the subject matter, and how confused the speaker, given the name Lewis, S will denote one particular thing, and thus Louis will have to always refer to a certain particular Frenchman, and in this case, Evans is using the example of referring to Louis the 16th. And if he were to use the name Louis, referring to Louis the 16th in a way back time, him using the name Louis again, there's still going to be a connection between Louis and the actual Louis the 16th. And there's still that reference preserving connection, and saying later Louis is a basketball player doesn't necessarily refer to the same Louis. And there's this idea of a notion of saying, and how saying can sometimes change meaning, where if you say Louis a lot and are referring to Louis the 16th, and then you automatically say Louis was a basketball player, there's still that causal reference preserving link there, which can cause some confusion. The causal theory of meaning, or the causal theory of names, ignores surrounding context. Given Louis, that immediately refers to Louis the 16th, regardless of current context. And the causal theory of names is causal because of how causal because of how when you use a certain name, if you use a certain name, and specifically using words link that name to a certain object X, that is going to be a reference preserving causal connection, which is going to preserve the reference and also stay there no matter how long ago you used it. And there's not a lot of room for context or the performative utterance. And Evans is saying, what conditions have to be satisfied for a speaker to have said that P when he utters a sentence that may appropriately be used to say Q and that R and S also. A causal theory ignores how context can determine what is said. The notion of saying is not really entirely accounted for given the causal theory of names. Causal connection, there's a causal connection between my use of a name and the others' using of it. So there's kind of a need for a theory of names which does account for context, in some way accounts for how meaning is causally preserved in some ways, but how, say, the name NN could be used to refer to one thing, but also to a wholly different thing. And a parallel theory to this is that there are not two fundamentally different mechanisms involved in a word's having a meaning. Thus, there's no sense in reference. There's no connotation denotation. There are just words. There are words acquiring a meaning, and a causal mechanism operating to ensure the meaning is preserved. So there's no twofold notion here. And a change of meaning via the utterance or the context would be decisive against the causal theory itself, and it would be decisive against the meaning of general terms. It would be decisive against the fact that general terms can change in denotation given a certain saying or a certain utterance or a certain context. So we have this example where we have the actual Jack, which is a baby, and we have a doppelganger baby, or a baby which is similar to the real Jack, but it's Jack 2, let's say. Where the baby universally known as Jack could be switched out for that doppelganger. And thus, given that, how you could confuse those two is one of many things as to how the causal theory of names, as it sits the way Evans is reviewing it, is a inadequate thing. We also have the example of the Gödel and Schmidt issue, where we all know that Gödel proved the incompleteness theorems, where some say that Schmidt actually did that, and Gödel took credit for it or whatever. And you have the phrase, the one who proved the incompleteness theorem, and that could either refer to Schmidt or Gödel. And the description theory, where there's a denotation of the speaker, and it's what the speakers intend to refer to by using the name. Secondly, the object of the speaker intends to refer to by his use of a name is that which satisfies us, fits the majority of descriptions, making up the cluster of information or the dossier as he uses. So the description theory, on the other hand, is something that the speaker or the name can have a denotation where the denotation can be verified or preserved, not preserved, normally just verified, given as to how it fits or is appropriate with a majority of other descriptions, and that's kind of like a coherence thing going on. But this is not epistemology forthright. And as to how that majority of descriptions makes up your dossier or your cluster of information with which the name can be confirmed as to mean a certain thing. And that is where you get into the idea of mind and language, and as to where did this dossier come from. So we have this degree of fit requirement, and we have a few other requirements. I'll get to like the breakdown of the two things here in a second. Where given this degree of fit requirement for X to be the intended referent for S's use of the name in causal is causal. Is causal for X's causal connection to the body of information. And we have an ambiguity of description theories, whether those description theories are causal or not. So description theories can be also causal. There can be a causal element, thus that causal preserving chain. And Evan tries to give an account of what makes an expression into a name for something that will allow names to change their denotations. So he wants to kind of go beyond this description and causal kind of brands, where we can account of what an expression having a name and how that name can refer to something, but how that reference can change, which can produce names, and which is not meaning that there can be something going wrong here, where the causal relation between S and S the person and X the name. The dossier of information is used as to often not misidentify, as how misidentification can also happen, and a speaker intends to refer to the item that in the determinate source of his body of information. So two things, like a couple of things, the way to break down a descriptive and a causal element, where a description theory, where names denotation is always fixed, and the dominance is securing what he was trying for, and the majority of descriptions securing the name's denotations, where we have a degree of fit requirement also, which blocks the name consequences one finds objectionable. Causal theory, which is can somewhat be descriptive, where it incorporates as this insight, and there's the importance of an operative causal connection with a dossier or cluster of information individuated by the source. The causal chain of reference preserving links leading back to S's use of that name, and according to Evans, neither account for context, and you have to have something which can account for context and can allow for a name's denotation to change. And I'm totally on that boat, personally. I think that to have a theory of names would have to be account for the utterance itself and saying in its full form, where it's almost like a coherence theory of knowledge, where a belief isn't ever indubitable or incorrigible. That it can always be wrong, it can always be replaced, whether it's a sense data thing or whatever. Same with this. Any name which is fixed can always be unfixed. How if you have a name which denotes a certain object, that name can also switch to referring to something else. So let me know what your thoughts on this are on this. If you think I went too fast, if you have a question, come below.